Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, I hope all of you are able to listen to me. Okay, so you know very well that you are having your class tests, which are basically revision tests for each subject. And inshallah, tomorrow you are going to have your uh, revision test for computer science, and the schedule was already announced to you. So, what will be the pattern of the paper? You are going to have 12 MCQs. Okay, and you are going to have you can see on your screen you are going to have 12 MCQs, and this will be for 12 marks. Short questions will be there. You have to do 4 short questions out of 5, so each question will be of 3 marks, so it becomes 12 marks again. Long question will be there, one from out of 2 that you have to do, and of course it will be of 6 marks. I am taking over here 6 marks for the long question. So it will become total of 6. So now the total marks for the paper that you are going to have tomorrow will be 30 marks. Okay. So it will be a 30 marks paper. You are going to have the MCQs, mainly the outline is basically your chapter number 1 and chapter number 2. These are the two chapters which are included in your outline that are going to be tested. So today we are going to revise once again, revise about these chapters. We are going to revise these chapters, the text which is given in your book. We are going to see that text regarding MCQs, short questions, and long questions, how questions can be asked in some different ways. Another important thing is that soon we are going to have face-to-face exam for those students in the school, for those students who were absent in the month of October and September and October, and they were not attending the classes regularly. So some students are there, so they are going to have the face-to-face exam as well, because they were not present in the classes, but they uh, attended the exams and they scored good. But we want to see their progress, that how they could score that they have given in the stand up examination. So there are few students who are going to have face to face exam as well, so they will be announced about it. Of course they would have been announced about it. You know, we are very much concerned about our results, because over here, if you are doing well and you are going to have good marks in the internal exams, but if it does not happen in the board exam, so it will be great problem for us, not only for the students but also for us, because we need a good result. So this thing is very important for us. Anyway, without wasting time over here, we are going toward the book. We are going to review the chapter number 1 and chapter number 2. I am not going to read the text. Of course, I am going to discuss the variety of the questions, that how one question can be asked, in some different ways, particularly in the MCQs, also in short question and long question. So question are basically from chapter number 1 and chapter number 2 in this test. So in chapter number 1, fundamentals of computers is there. Evolution of computer history and generations, these are important types, analog, digital, etc. Okay, so these are their hardware components, are there ports, expansion slots, different components on the motherboard. Then software portion is there, in which application software, system softwares are there. Then in the chapter number 2, we have got operating system. The functions of operating system is always important. The classification, real time, multi-user, single user. Then different types of the interfaces available in the operating system. So these are basically important things that we need to go through in these two chapters. Now, if we start the chapter number 1, You will see that the chapter number 1 contains mainly the historical background of the computer system. In the beginning, you will see that some introduction is there about the computer science. What is basically a computer? Computer is the electronic device which deals with the data, processes it, and gives you the output. The storage mechanism is also there with it. How computer evolved? You need to know that in your federal board they also give you the history questions as well. Who invented, when invented, such kind of questions are also there. So abacus was basically a Chinese device. You must know about it. They may ask you that abacus was developed in which country. China, Taiwan, or any other country could be mentioned. You must know what is the right answer. Structure in this historical background, the structure is important. Although we are not going to apply these tools, of course, but we should know at least what is the structure. In abacus, if you see over here, parallel rods as shown in the figure, parallel rods are there, and what is there? Wooden beads are there. Parallel rods with the wooden beads. Wooden beads are there which are attached in these parallel rods to make some calculations. Okay, and these beads were able to freely move along with the rods. So this is basically the structure, and using this technique, what we were able to do, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, basic arithmetic operations were there. So these all things can be asked in one MCQs. For example, the abacus was containing what kind of mechanism, parallel rods were there, beads were there, what kind of operations were there that could be performed on it, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. These are basically the operations that could be performed. Then comes Napier bones, which was developed by John Napier, Scottish mathematician. Now you must know the country of the belonging of the John Napier's. He invented the device. What was the structure over here? You can see that wooden box containing rotating cylinder, each of which had the digits from 0 to 9. Now this can be asked in the MCQs. That the Napier bones was having what kind of mechanism, and you may be given some four options over there. You must remember that the wooden box was there having cylinders. You can see in this diagram, in this figure given over here, that cylindrical objects are there in this box, and the counting is there from 0 to 9. So you can see over here that using these cylinders, basically they were making some basic arithmetical operations, just like divide, multiply, even square root was there. So you can see over here, it could multiply, divide, find square root of the numbers. Addition, subtraction is also there. His biggest achievement was the invention of the logarithm. He was also the founder of the logarithm, keep in mind. So it may be asked that who was the scientist who invented the logarithm? So you are given four names, let's suppose. So you are going to mention that Napier bones, John Napier. Napier bones was the name of this instrument. John Napier was the name of the scientist. Okay, now then come towards the Blaise Pascal's device. It was basically another device, and you know what is the mechanism over here? Rotating wheels. Rotating wheels are there, and he was French mathematician. Now see over here, he belongs to France. So he was French mathematician, 1642, and he invented the rotating wheels mechanism. It is also basically based on a box, but the wheels are given over here to make some calculations. And each wheel had 10 parts having 0 to 9 numbers, and using these wheels they used to do the calculation. Wheels were basically supposed to rotate, so they used to find out the answer for different type of calculation related to addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and all these kind of things. Then come towards a comparatively complex device which is called the difference engine, and then it was also called analytical engine. 1822, he was English mathematician Charles Babbage. Babbage is a famous scientist, started working on a big calculating machine. It was having more options with it, about the size of a room. It was large machine. It was not a small machine like abacus. He called it difference engine. So the device which was made by Charles Babbage was difference engine. Babbage worked for many years on this machine, but he could not complete it. Later, he came up with the idea of the analytical engine. He could not complete it because the technology was not that much advanced. Basically, this analytical engine is basically the foundation, of the computer system. So today's digital computer is basically based on the analytical engine. Charles Babbage is known as the father of the modern computation. Who was the scientist? Who is the scientist known as the father of the modern digital computers? Modern digital computing is founded by whom? You are going to say Charles Babbage. So in this way, MCQs will be asked. Definitely, three more options will be given to you, and you have to select the best one, the correct one. Now, Hollerith desks. Herman Hollerith was the scientist named in 1890. He invented one desk for the calculation. This machine was invented to help the census of 1890. It was basically for the calculation of the census. Census, you know very well, when population and houses are counted inside the cities of different cities for a country. This is called census. So the device was basically made for that purpose. So Hollerith desk consisted of a card reader. Card reader was there, which sends the holes in the cards, a gear-driven mechanism which could count and a large set of dial indicators to display the results. This was basically the mechanism which was used in the Hollerith desk. Okay. Now come towards the then if it was also called afterwards IBM Business Machine. Okay, it was changed to the IBM Business Machine as well. Slide rule. Slide rule was developed by William Outram. Now these devices can be asked in the terms of the scientist as well. That slide rule was developed by whom? So you need to identify the scientist name. So device was basically slide rule in 1614. Basically, it was an early device. It was very useful for solving problems that involve the multiplication division. It was also a basic device. Now come towards the Mark 1. Mark 1 is basically a device, an advanced device, successful computing machine invented in digital computing. Mark 1, it was invented by Howard Aiken. Now, this could be asked in 1944. In MCQs, it could be asked. Mark 1 could add three numbers having 8 digits in 1 second. It could point out its results on punch cards. Basically, the punch card was the device for taking input and output, or on electric typewriter. Mark 1 was 50 feet long, 8 feet high, and weight was about 5 tons. Basically, Mark 1 was the first digital computer. Now keep in mind that what are the dimensions? 50 feet is the length, even more than the length of the rooms, and 8 feet is height, and you can see over here the 5 ton is basically the weight. So it was very huge device, very much huge device, used for calculations. These all things can be asked in the MCQs. What were the dimensions? Who was the time scientist who worked on the Mark 1? In which year? 1944. So these all things you should remember for the MCQs as well. And if a note comes, you should write the note. Note is comparatively easier to write, but in MCQs you must know these statistics. Moreover, then advanced versions of the advanced editions came. Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4 were also built with some amendments, with some extensions with it. Since computer evolution is continuous process, it has not stopped. So now today even you can see that day to day, day to day advancement are there in computing technology. Now if we see that how computers were evolved, so we have to go towards the generations. Generations are basically those time frames in which there were some different advancements in computer systems. So in first generation, we are right now talking about the digital computers. Keep in mind, we are not talking about abacus or slide rule and such kind of computers which were analog in nature. We are talking about digital computers, which were based on the 0 and 1 mechanism. So first generation starts from 1940 to 1956. If you see over here, so abacus was very ancient device, old device, So we are talking about digital computers. When we are saying generations, we are not considering the analog devices, just like old devices, slide rule and abacus and something. So over here you can see that in 1940 to 1956, this could be asked in MCQs as well. What were the characteristics of those computers? They were using vacuum tubes. Number one, speed was very slow, size was very high, memory was very less. Huge computers were there. First generation computers were very expensive and unreliable. Heating was there. Heat used to be generated because of the bulb mechanism which was there. It input was done by the punch card and output was done using the typewriter mechanism. Machine language was used in these computers. Means we were supposed to communicate with the binary language. We were not having any language. Assembly was introduced in second generation. Even assembly language was not there. What are the examples? Now these examples can be asked in MCQs. A number of MCQs can be constructed on first generation. For example, if I give you these examples, which select which of the following is the which of the following is the example of first generation computer? ENIAC, UNIVAC, IBM 604, Mark 1. As I have mentioned, Mark 1 is the first digital computer. Mark 1 and ADSAC, electronic delay storage automatic calculator. These all are the examples. So these can be asked in the MCQs. But keep in mind, at that time only binary language was there, machine language was there to communicate with the computer system. Now in the second generation, if you see over here, the mechanism is changed. Some other scientists are there who were working on these things. Transistors were introduced instead of the vacuum tubes. That's why memory was increased, speed was increased, heat was reduced. They were reliable, a better technology as compared to the better technology was there. Now, assembly language was used in these computers, and then afterwards, even some high level languages were also introduced in this generation. The generation is continued from 1956 to 1963. We are calling this generation, whatever new innovations were done, these are called second generation. Okay, Fortran, COBOL languages were there. UNIVAC 2 was the example. IBM commercially they started making computers. IBM 7030, 7780, 7090, NCR 300. These all things can be asked in your MCQs. Which of the following is the correct example of the second generation computer? And we may write three wrong answer and one correct answer, and you have to correct. You have to identify the correct one. Third generation, the ICs were upgraded, the transistors were upgraded to the ICs. It was basically the major difference between the second and the third generation. And of course, other advantages were also there. IC chips removed the speed, improved the speed of the memory, and of course, better advantages were there. These were cheap. These were reduced in size. Keyboard and monitor were introduced. In second generation, we had punch card and typewriter. Punch card as input machine, input device, and the typewriter as output device. But in third generation, you can see over here the keyboard and monitor were introduced. So the commercial level machines which were introduced to the market were basically these examples: Borrow 6700, IBM System 360, System 3 Control. These are micro computers, and some mainframes are also there in it. Now, fourth generation is basically advancement in the ICs. So this is called large scale and very large scale integration of the ICs, which can process millions of instructions per second. So this is basically the latest technology and has been converted, also going towards the fifth generation now, where natural language processing will be there. You have to go through these all options as well. What are operating system was introduced, GUI operating system was introduced, and similarly we had more options in it. Better options were there. Fifth generation is now continue, and we are seeing that we have got a number of things. Computer is getting advanced, computer system is getting intelligent, things are being done in a much better way. Robots are introduced. Computer can Computer has started the natural language processing as well. Now the human beings will be able to talk computer systems, and the computer systems will be able to reply. If you see over here, digital and analog computers, types of computers and hybrid. Analog, you know that based on analog current, physical mechanism is there, just like voltmeter, ammeter. These are basically the devices, basically these are measuring devices which are basically analog computers. Old speedometer of the car was analog. Old petrol pump equipment in which there were, wheels moving, having digits moving around to give you the output. And digital computer is basically based on the zeros and ones, just like calculator. Digital calculator is also a digital computer because it contains IC to process the data. Whatever we press the numbers and we have the output. Our digital computer system, all devices, digital devices that we are using, are based on the digital mechanism because these are using digital current, which is basically working on the zeros and ones. Transistors are there. The basic unit is there, which is transistor. Hybrid is a combination. Input will be analog, output and processing, and output will be digital. Just like current speedometer of car is hybrid machine. Vital sign monitoring system in the ICU you would have seen in the hospitals and in the ICUs, or in the movies you would have seen that it gives you the output for heartbeat, for blood pressure, and for different vital signs of the human being. They attach some input devices with the body, and then they become able to get data. They process it, and then they give you the output. What is the blood pressure, what is the heartbeat, what is the breathing ratio, all these things. So such kind of machine where input is an analog and processing, and then output is digital in nature, it is basically combination of the two types of computers, hence it is called hybrid computer. Now, if you see the classification according to the size and the processing speed, we have got supercomputer, mainframe computer, mini computer, and microcomputer. Okay, supercomputer are the computers which are not used by ordinary people. These are used by large scale organization. They can process trillions of instructions per second, used for specific purposes, just like the supercomputer owned by NASA, supercomputer owned by Atomic Energy Commission of Pakistan, supercomputer owned by different weather forecasting institutions. They are using supercomputers. Mainframe computers are used by large multinational companies where multiple users, hundreds or thousands of users can be connected with single computer system. Of course, the computer system is large in size, having more power, having good operating system which supports multi-user interfaces, and the users can be connected with even dumb terminals with it. Means with only keyboard and mouse, they can, and a display, they can connect to it and they can process data, they can store data, they can perform all their duties on that single computer system. So these are, it can also process trillions of instructions per second. But keep in mind what are the examples. Now these examples can be asked in MCQs. Enterprise EC12, EC196, HP 1600, 16500. These are the examples of the mainframe computers. And if we see over here, mini computers are also similar to mainframe, but keep in mind mini computers are having less capacity as compared to the mainframe computers. But it is the only difference. Mainframe has better performance. So mainframe examples, if you mini computer examples, if you see over here, IBM 360 and HP 3000 are the examples. So these could be asked in the MCQs as well. You need to be very much attentive about these all things. Now, microcomputer is today's computer, laptop, desktop, cell phones, Android, tablets. These all are the microcomputer. These can process millions of instructions per second. Even they have got now capacity of, early ages mainframe computer capacity is there in today's cell phone. Means the instructions that we are processing is equivalent to the early ages mainframe computer system that we are having in our pockets today. So I think there isn't any problem in it. You should know the uses of computer, how computer system is serving education. Question may be asked in this way, that write down 4 ways the computer system is serving education. Write down 3 methods, 3 ways the computer system is serving in business. Just like we can do online shopping, we can give orders, so you have to write at least 3 ways, 4 ways. The ways are mentioned over here. How the computer systems are serving the defense system. We can make spying, we can do surveillance. What are the different objectives that we can have using computer system? In media and technology, you know very well that the media is using computer system for recording, for editing, for making, for linear editing, for post production, for making advertisement, animation, design. All these things are being done on the computer system. Factories and industries are using computer system for manufacturing. They not only they make design, which is called computer aided design. When you are making a design in AutoCAD, you are making a design of something on Corel Draw, you are making a design in Adobe Photoshop, in any other designing software. So it is also basically a designing on computer system. But when you are applying that design using some machine, so you are using another software which is called computer aided manufacturing. You give the instructions to that machine that make this. For example, there is sculpture, or there is some kind of, something, some model, some toy, some object is there that you want to build by machine. So you will give instruction that make the wheels of the car in this way, make the doors in this way, make the windows in this way, make the, and then when these components will be prepared, you are going to assemble them. So this is basically called the computer aided manufacturing. Questions can be asked to write about computer aided manufacturing, computer aided design. These things are very important. What are the different careers? Software engineers, who is working on the different programming languages to make softwares. Database designer, who is basically responsible for designing and maintaining database administrator, manages all the user rights and authorities with the different employees. System analyst, who is basically the overall in charge of all the organization's data processing requirement. Network administrator, who manages all the operations related to computer systems, cabling system, network switches, routers, how the computers are connected, whether they are able to communicate or not, what are the user rights to perform different types of jobs on the network. Web designer, who is limited to the designing of the web pages, whether he is designing in HTML, DHTML, XML, whatever the language they are using. Server side programming, ASP.NET, whatever the tools they are using, they are concerned about that. Multimedia engineer or multimedia designer, who develops basically the animations, who applies different effects to the animations, to the videos, you know, promos, such kind of things. Sound mixing, such kind of things that we perform, voiceover, the operations that we perform on different media things. Multimedia engine. Information security analyst is basically restrict to manage the security, the user rights and access. Normally, there is network administrator in organizations, but if the organization is having a very high profile data, so they also hire a separate information security analyst who manages all the security of the data. Computer teacher is also one of the career that you can opt. In hardwares, we have got input devices, output devices, processing devices, and storage devices. If you see over here, you may be asked different questions, just like keyboard. Keyboard is basically input device. We have got multiple pointing devices: mouse, touchpad, pointing stick. Pointing stick, you know about it? There is one eraser-like stick in the buttons between G and H. This is called pointing stick. Touchpad is basically the pad of the laptop where we can touch and we can move our cursor. Okay, so these all are the devices which are available. Pointing devices, joystick is also a pointing device using which you can play games, you can move the character of the game here and there, you can use buttons to make him jump, and such kind of operations. There are different keys available on the keyboard: function keys, character keys, cursor movement keys, and all these keys are basically specific, they perform different types of jobs. Now, barcode reader is basically very important device which is used to read the barcode on product. Inside the superstores, you would have seen this thing, and when it reads the barcode, the information is decoded, and then it finds out the detail of the product from the database, its name, its price, its discount on the price, and similarly all these things are decoded, and then you get the receipt accordingly. Digital camera is used to capture not only the pictures but also the videos today. So we have got some different types of digital cameras available today. Touch screen. Touch screen is a device which is not only input device but also at the same time it is also output device. Because you are giving input on the touch screen that open this window, and that window is being opened on the same screen. So that's why simultaneously it is an input device as well as it is in an output device. It is a sensitive display. There are different mechanisms available for input and output. A touchpad is an input device on laptops and some keyboards to move a cursor with finger. As user moves finger on the surface, the mouse cursor moves in that same direction. A touchpad is shown over here. You can see over here. Now inside the computer system, you can see that the motherboard is very important component. All the devices are directly or indirectly connected with the motherboard. All the devices are directly or indirectly connected with the motherboard. This thing is very important because the IO channel is there on the back of the CPU, which is basically the part of the motherboard with which we connect all the devices. Inside the system unit, you will see that all hard drives, DVD, ROM, or RAM, ROM, all things are connected with the motherboard. So motherboard is basically the main board of the computer system with which you connect all types of devices. This diagram is basically showing you the motherboard. So you may be asked, define motherboard, what is the purpose of the motherboard, differentiate between arithmetic logic unit and control unit. You may be asked such kind of questions about microprocessor. It has got three major components inside. Registers are also there. Registers are basically the small areas inside the microprocessors. You can see here these areas basically cover the data processing cycle, and whenever any data is being processed, so that data is basically uh, hold by registers. What are the different types? You must know the names: instruction register, accumulator register, data register, memory address register. Similarly, others are also there: programmable register, memory buffer register, memory address register, and a number of registers are there. But since in this syllabus only this introduction is there, so we have not mentioned the detail, but at least you should know the names of the registers which are available over here. Control unit is basically the major component which controls all the operations of the computer systems. It behaves like a supervisor inside a company and controls all the operations. Now, in storage devices, you may be asked to write a short note on hard disk, CD, or DVD. You have to read it carefully. What is the capacity of the DVD? What is the capacity of a CD? Normal CD which is available in the market. USB is a flash memory device, flash memory drive which holds the data permanently. And we have also got the cards as well in which we can store the data. If you talk about the display, we have got two types: CRT and LCD. CRT, cathode ray tube, the large size display like television, and LCD is the modern display, crystal, liquid crystal display, LED display, light emitting diode display. So these are basically smart, having less size, less weight, better quality. If you talk about the printers, we have got two types, impact and non-impact. You may be asked to differentiate between them. Differentiate impact and non-impact printers. There are some differences between them. Impact printers are slow, they are noisy, they are having less quality printout. Okay, so these are basically the characteristics. They print in normally in one color, blue, black, or such kind of color. But in non-impact printers, you will see that they can print in multiple colors. These are silent, these are not noisy, they are costly. Impact printer are also cheap, but non-impact printers are costly as well. Okay, these are the characteristics. Plotter is used at commercial level, where you are going to print the data on large sheets. You know about the speakers memory, read only memory and random access memory. These are the two important memories inside. Read only is just like BIOS, which holds the basic input output program. Read only memory is a chip which contains the written program in it. The program is written inside it. This is called read only memory, and the example is BIOS chip. When we switch on computer system, so BIOS chip is there. All the students will keep the cameras closed. So over here, the question may be there that write down the three differences, four differences between random access memory and read only memory. Okay, so you have to see all these things from this chapter as well. And even from next chapter, if you go to the next chapter, chapter number 2, you will see that operating system is very important. The functions, especially functions of operating systems, are very important. Define operating system, write down its functions. We know that process management, and you need to write proper answer, not here and there and not line. When it is a detailed question, you have to write proper answer in detail. Okay, so memory management, user management, file management. Then we have got different types of the user interfaces, GUI, command line operating systems. So you have to go through these all things. There would be MCQs as well, there would be CRQs, short questions as well. Need to be very much single user, multi-user. What are the differences? Make a comparison between single user, write a short note on batch processing system. Such kind of questions will be there. Write a short note on real-time system. Such kind of the questions will be there. So do complete paper. Don't leave any question. Note down this important thing that you have to do all the paper. You are not supposed to leave any question in the paper. Okay, as I have explained you that 12 MCQs will be there. You have to mark the right answer, think about it, then mark it. Short questions will be there. You have to do four short questions out of five, and four short questions will be, each question will be for 3 marks, and one question out of two questions, and it will be of 6 marks. Hence it becomes total 30 marks. I hope all of you will be able to write in a better way. You will get good marks in your results. Do it with proper honesty. Thank you so much.